Okay, so today we're going to expand on solving equations in one variable by adding in a step. So not only are we going to have to solve an equation, but we're going to have to simplify before we do it. Okay, and we've done maybe a little bit of this in previous lessons, but today we're going to hit it really hard. So what you need to do is a two-step process. The first is to simplify your equation. So it's complex, or in my first example here, I have a complex equation. I've got y minus 5 times y plus 3 equals 33. Now, before I can even do anything with that, I need to first of all limit my variables. To solve for a variable, I can only have one of them. So I have to find a way to kind of get rid of that. And second of all, I have to get rid of parentheses. There's no way to solve you can't get a variable by itself if there's a bunch of parentheses in your problem. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify. Okay, and I'll do that here in purple. Okay, and remember that's distributing and combining like terms. So the distributive property and the combining like terms property. All right. So looking at this problem here, the first step is simplify. Got to get rid of the parentheses. So I have a negative 5 outside of this parentheses. I'm going to distribute to get rid of that. So we end up with y minus 5y. And then remember, negative 5 times positive 3 is going to end up with negative 15. And that's equal to 33. And I'm not done simplifying yet because I want to simplify this y minus 5y. Now, the confusion here, a lot of the time I see minus y minus y. We don't do that. We only do operations like that if I'm trying to solve an equation across the equal sign. So set up your wall. Everything on one side of the wall you have to simplify first. So I'm going to simplify this whole side before I even try to solve from an equation, and that's just ignoring this half completely and combining like terms on this half. So after I distribute, combine like terms. Remember, there's an assumed 1 out here, and I've got a negative 5y here. So 1 minus 5y, well, 1 minus 5 is negative 4y. Minus 15 equals 33. Now this is completely simplified. I have one variable, one number on each side. And that's what I want. Okay? So from there, I'm going to solve for my variable. I'm going to switch colors here. So to solve. So I'm going to get a value for the variable. Remember, that's my overall goal, is to get a value for my variable. So to get y by itself, first thing I got to do is get rid of this 15. So it's minus 15. I'm going to do the opposite and add 15 to both sides. Okay, so I get negative 4y is equal to 48. And then I'm going to divide by negative 4 to get the y by itself. Okay, so y is equal to 48 over negative 4. Simplify this, 48 divided by negative 4 is negative 12. Okay, so then we're done, right? We've got the variable by itself, it's y equals negative 12, and that's all I needed to do. Okay, so my final answer, y equals negative 12. Okay, so for example 2, I want you to try it real quick. Pause the video and see if you can come up with an answer, and then match it to my work here in a second. Alright, so first thing we want to do, and the first thing that you should have done, is simplify both sides of this equation. Okay, so we had before simplified just one side, but I've got parentheses on both. So before I do anything, I'm going to simplify. Okay, put up the wall. Remember, one side doesn't affect the other until you start removing things. Okay, so distribute the x, distribute the 2. I get 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 plus 10. Okay, Now, this one, remember, there's an implied 1 here, so when you distribute, I get negative 1 times negative 3. It's positive 3x. Negative 1 times positive 2 is negative 2. So make sure that it applies to both. Okay, there's nothing left to do on this side. The parentheses are gone. All right, simplify it. Keep simplifying until you can't anymore. So I get 2x minus 10 plus 10. Well, combine these two. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0, so they end up dropping out. So I'm left with just 2x is equal to 3x minus 2. We check this side, there's nothing left to simplify. 3x and negative 2 you can't combine. They don't have the same variable to the same power. Okay, and so now we could switch over to solving. So second step, I'm going to solve for x. So switch back to red. To get x by itself, first of all, I have to remove the x from one side. And because this x is over here by itself, I don't want to remove that one. It would just be easier to remove the 3x from this side since there's a 2 over here. Okay, so subtract 3x. 2 minus 3x, or 2x minus 3x is negative 1x, and equal to negative 2. And then to get the negative off the x, since this is being multiplied, got negative 1 times x. I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. So I get x is equal to negative 2 divided by negative 1, which is positive 2. Alright, so for tomorrow, I want you guys to try the 6 practice problems below and be ready to discuss them in class tomorrow. Have a good night.